Whether formed by nature or nurture, the surface of planet Earth is covered with wonderful structures that have to be seen to be believed. Modern CGI and special effects can create any location or scene imaginable for a film or television show, but there's still nothing quite like experiencing a visually stunning location with your own eyes. We're looking to bring that experience to you in this video, which is packed full of some of the most amazing and jaw-dropping places and things that exist on the planet we call home. If you don't know what these curious-looking buildings in Singapore are, you could be forgiven for thinking that someone had erected a pair of gargantuan spinning-top statues. That's not what they are, though. They're futuristic-looking structures that do a futuristic job. Located on grassland on Tampines Road, which stretches right across the whole country, they're actually upside-down, cone-shaped water storage tanks. Each one capable of holding more than 25,000 cubic feet of water. It's not any old water either. It's what's known in Singapore as new water. The liquid is collected as wastewater and is then treated and recycled into water that's safe to drink. Each tank has a diameter of over 120 feet at its widest point. Right now, their primary purpose is to provide safe water to an electronic chip manufacturing plant which operates close to the tanks. Very clean water is essential in the manufacturing of such chips, and so the treatment centers must be doing an excellent job if they're able to provide it. The gigantic sinkhole known as Sima Humboldt in Bolivar State, Venezuela, is unique for a whole variety of reasons. It's an enormous hole that from the top almost seems to penetrate down to the center of the earth, like a magical underground forest. First noticed by the air by a pilot in 1961, the hole is over 1,000 feet deep and over 1,600 feet wide at its broadest point. It also has a neighbor less than 2,000 feet away in the shape of a smaller Sima Martel, although the second hole is less impressive than this one. Found at the top of the table mountain known as Sarasara Nama, it's just one of several strange quirks about the area, including the fact that Sarasara Nama is the only tepui to have a forest. The hole even has its own forest, which can be found if you're brave enough to descend all the way down into its base. Venezuela allows explorers to come and take a look at Sima Humboldt for themselves, but only if they successfully apply for a special permit which allows them to do so. Any artist would be proud of this mushroom-like sculpture in Malloy, Norway, but in this case, no artist was involved. The rock looks like this because of the awesome power of time and nature. Known as Cannasteinen rock, it was shaped by thousands of waves crashing against its sides in high winds over thousands of years. Although mushroom is the most common description given to it, different people have different takes on what it actually looks like. Some romantics even think it looks a little bit like a heart. Even though it looks a bit precarious, the rock is still perfectly stable and strong enough to support the many people who climb to the top of it for a photo opportunity. Although doing so during high tide can lead to getting trapped at the top until the water subsides. Eventually, the water will wear the stem of the rock away completely and it will collapse. But experts believe it has several centuries left before that happens. Cannasteinen rock is afforded special protection under Norwegian law, and so it will likely be strengthened and repaired if it ever does become dangerous. Cave pearls are a strange and specific geological phenomenon. These spherical stones are calcium salt concretions that gather in concentrated layers around a solid nucleus and are then polished to the point where they have a shiny glaze by moving water running across the top of them. They look beautiful in their natural environment, but can quickly degrade and tarnish if they're taken out of the cave they formed in and are exposed to the air. Perhaps the most beautiful collection of cave pearls in the world can be found inside Carlsbad Caverns in Mexico, where they were once so common. They used to be handed out as souvenirs to visitors. That practice has ended now, but there are still thousands of them inside the caverns where they've become a highlight of the guided tours of the area. Often a cave pearl can form around a single grain of sand so long as there's material around it to coat it with, and dripping or running water present to move the process along. Those who go to look at the Kendarweshwar Cave Temple in the Ahmednagar region of India have to do so at their own peril. By the look of things, the roof might be about to cave in at any given moment. There's a lot of superstition based around the ancient Hindu temple. As you can see, it used to have 4 pillars. Now, only 1 pillar remains intact. It's said that when the final pillar collapses, the world will end, and so we best hope that it stays standing for a long time yet. The cavern floods completely during rainy weather, but even when conditions outside are dry, it still retains a foot or 2 of ice-cold water. That doesn't put Hindu pilgrims and worshippers off the idea of jumping straight into it, though. Nobody knows for sure exactly how old the temple is, although it's said to date back to the Stone Age. Doing so is the only way to reach the 5-foot-tall monument to the Hindu god Shiva, which is positioned right at the center of the temple as a focal point. The first time people see images of the West Komakua skylight in Hawaii, they often think they're looking at a gruesome sculpture, but it's all one big optical illusion. It may appear that these are pictures of twisted human bodies being sucked into a fiery inferno, but it's actually just the pattern of lava that's turned into rock above a volcanic skylight, a hole by which it's possible to look down on the still molten lava that flows beneath it. Perhaps, understandably, some people say that it looks like a portal into hell, but we think it's too beautiful to justify that description. The multiple different lava flows have formed around the hole as a type of rocky crust, which explains the bumpy and uneven surface. Rather than being above a volcano, the skylight is above a naturally occurring geological wonder called a lava tube. Lava tubes are more common beneath the surface of the Earth than we usually imagine, but most of the time they're hidden. We only get to see them when part of the ground above them collapses, as it has here. For such a small place, there's a lot of mythology wrapped up in the tiny Mexican island of Mexicaltitan. It's said that when rain comes and the streets flood, you'll see pigs swimming down the streets. Waterlogged streets are a common occurrence there, so much so that it's informally known as the Venice of Mexico. The biggest claim that's made about it, though, is that this is the place from which the entire mighty Aztec civilization grew. The first great Aztec city was Tenochtitlan, which was founded in 1325. But many people believe the Aztecs started in Mexaltitan before moving off the island and onto the mainland. There's no substantial evidence to support the claim, but there can be no denying that the cruciform pattern of the buildings and streets is strikingly similar to the layout of Tenochtitlan. The people who still live on the human-made island are welcoming to visitors who can travel there by boat to find out more about the location's fishing traditions. This strange-looking tree in Australia has a chamber inside its trunk and is rumored to have been used as an unconventional prison during the 19th century. The story that prisoners were once held here is likely to be an urban legend, but that hasn't stopped it from becoming known as the Derby Prison Tree. The tree is incredibly old and has stood in the same spot for at least 1,500 years. The split open base is almost 50 feet wide, and the fact that it's hollow means that it could have been used as a prison if someone had ever wanted to do so. The prison story is believed to have come from a painting from the 1940s when the prison label was used in the title, but doubts about the veracity of the tale appeared almost immediately. It's however been used as an ossuary in the past. It's known that boab trees like this were considered sacred to Aborigines, and human bones were found inside the tree by anthropologist Herbert Bastow in 1916. There are many sites and attractions in Amsterdam that are designed to catch your eye. But if you wander into Electric Ladyland, you might have a complete sensory overload. This day-glow bright place is thought to be the only museum dedicated to fluorescence and fluorescent light in the world. You'll find it close to Anne Frank's house, in the basement of an art gallery called Electric Lady. Although some of the fluorescent art and materials inside the museum are artificial, there are also several examples of materials that naturally give out or respond to ultraviolet light. Once you're inside the experiential room, the museum's owner will switch on the blacklight, and what moments ago appeared to be a humble collection of pebbles will suddenly burst with specks of neon. A history of fluorescent materials and their use in the field of entertainment is also included within the museum, along with some vintage blacklight magic tricks and playsets. It's a strange collection for anybody to put together, but it's also a museum like no other on the face of the planet. Going near any active volcano is a risky activity, but you have to be extraordinarily brave to get close to Mount Nyiragongo in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. It's erupted more than 30 times since the first eruption was recorded in 1882, smokes at all times, and hosts the world's largest lava lake. Despite all that, there are several densely populated villages around the base of it. Just to make it even more terrifying, the mountain contains a particular type of alkali-rich rock that allows lava to move much more quickly than it would in the average volcano. When it erupted in 1977, the flow of lava was recorded as moving at 60 miles an hour. That gives people almost no chance of getting out of the way when it erupts. As of right now, it hasn't erupted since 2002, but that could all change any day. It's definitely still active and will definitely erupt again. We only need to look at the lava lake to confirm that. The glowing mass is rising all the time. What's better than a big waterfall? A bigger waterfall. Even without the play on words, Bigger Waterfall in Romania has to be considered one of the most beautiful in the world. It's well loved by all the people who live close to it and has been nicknamed the Miracle from the Mini Canyon. You'll find the waterfall within the Anina Mountains, which are in the county of Caraș-Severin. Unlike the majority of waterfalls, Bigger isn't a vertical drop off the side of a cliff face. It's a rounded waterfall standing 25 feet tall and has a thick carpet of green moss which shapes and directs the water that cascades down and across it. The water doesn't thunder down it relentlessly. Instead, it gently flows across the stone surface and breaks into a series of streams. That creates a halo effect on the water, which almost seems to glow. Bigger Waterfall is frequently voted as the most outstanding area of natural beauty in all of Romania, and it's a title that it richly deserves. The Brimham Rocks in Yorkshire, England look too ornate and neatly arranged to have been fashioned this way by nature. For many years, they were thought to have been piled up by ancient Druids, prompting historians to wonder how Stone Age people would have been capable of such a thing. There are those who still believe that Druids did the work, but the prevailing accepted scientific theory is they were formed naturally. The ripple and wave effects you see on the stones were caused by the melting of a massive glacier during the last ice age, approximately 75,000 years ago. That erosion carved grooves and gullies into the rocks, which have then been shaped and accentuated further by thousands of years of wind and rain. Many of the stones have been given names based on what they supposedly look like, such as Turtle and the Dancing Bear. Look closely and see if you can work out which one is supposed to resemble the Egyptian Sphinx. Climbers are welcome to visit and climb the rocks, but the steep inclines and complex structures mean that only confident and experienced climbers should take on the challenge. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, and you will be the first to know when a new video comes out. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.